DPW Building Committee meeting of October 22nd shall be in order at 7:01. Everybody's seen the agenda. It's a little bit, the order is a bit different, this meeting. We've brought the approval of the bills closer to the front, so there'll be more time to talk later. Next, the first big agenda item is approval of the minutes from October 8th. I know Steve sent them out, and if no one has seen Mr. Racketon's minutes before, you're in for a big surprise. So you were in for a big surprise. So
I take that as a compliment, Paul.
yes,
You should.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, as it was intended.
Okay.
You know, as it was intended. You understand, Steve Kirby and I and you, this ain't our first rodeo, you know?
That's right.
So, all right, so assuming everybody's seen the minutes, are there any additions, corrections, omissions? Hearing none, I'll accept a motion to approve minutes from October 8th.
So moved.
Second,
I'll second.
moved and seconded, approve the minutes. Roll call vote. Paul Flaherty, aye.
David Ryan,
Steve
aye.
Racketon.
Andy
Steve
Leonard,
Racketon,
aye.
John Westerling, aye.
Oh, there's John. Johnny Johnson, did you get in there? You're
Johnny, you're
muted, John.
muted.
Johnny, you're muted.
John Johnson, yes.
Aye. Okay. That's it. Steve, you have, next item would be approval of invoices. Here they come,
Yeah,
right?
you can see that, Paul?
I see the presentation. I don't see any, bills.
Okay, no, I'll get to that.
Okay,
So, you just sort of recap of the agenda, approving the minutes you just did, approving the invoices coming up. Then we'll get into the public outreach and in particular, the community outreach forum presentation. I might come back to this slide later, but to stick with the agenda, we have 2 invoices for the month of September. Weston and Sampson invoice 102-50832 for $52,500, and the Vertex OPM invoice 104-694-06 for $8,400. It's a total amount approval of $69,900, and we do have copies of the invoices. Here is the Vertex, which is a lump sum, and we have $12,400 remaining. And then the Weston and Sampson invoice for $52,500. So they have they've billed 122 out of the 175. And then our budget review, nothing's really changed. These are the contracts that have been awarded. So we still have the $5,000 left in the contingency out of the $235,000 that was appropriated for this phase.
right. Any questions on the bills? To accept the motion to approve the invoices?
Make a motion.
Roll call vote. Paul Flaherty, aye.
David Ryan, aye.
Andy Leonard, aye.
John
John
Johnson, aye.
Westerling, aye.
Steve
That's
Racketon,
it.
aye.
Got that unanimous action. All right, now let's get into the nitty gritty here.
So, excuse me for a second. So the community outreach forum, that's coming up on the 29th. I'll flip to our presentation in a minute, which we went over and did some edits at this morning's working group meeting, which has improved that initial draft that we put together with Weston and Sampson. We were talking about how to advertise to let residents know that this was coming up on Wednesday at the community center for to get some attendance. Talked about sort of the road signs, the flashing road signs. Ideally we would have cable there so we could put the video of the outreach forum up on the website, because sometimes you don't get a lot of people at these things. So at least people will be able to go back and look at it. Like I said, we'll review the draft presentation. We've tentatively selected speakers to go with the slides. And it's not a long presentation, which will allow residents to ask questions after, and we don't start putting them to sleep. And then I don't know if we want to try and schedule any other outreach forums prior to the special town meeting, but we certainly will be doing it after, provided we get an approved vote. In addition, the poster boards and flyers have been updated by Weston Sampson. There was a couple comments that came back on. I don't know whether we didn't review those posters this morning. I don't know if Dennis and JP and Tony, whether you looked at any of those comments, but we can follow up with that later. It'd probably be best if we try and get a frequently asked questions up on the website, and can certainly put a draft together and get something up if people start looking to see what's going on. I don't think we're going to have a time for an online public comment period, but again, that can be something that can be done for hopefully for the larger ask in the spring. And then I'm not sure whether IT updated the websites or not, but we can follow up on that. Just as a reminder, the special town meeting is the 4th. The warrant article language is complete. It's going to be at Nipmuc at 7 o'clock, and most of us will attend. For Dennis and Paul, for Weston and Sampson and Vertex, you're going to have to give our names, I think, at the front, and we probably have to sit in a particular spot. So
No, you'll be able to sit down front with us, because that's where the moderator allows presenters to sit. So
yeah, okay. Yeah, we can figure that on the day of. So let me stop sharing with this and get right to the presentation. Okay, so the community outreach forum presentation is exactly the same as what we're proposing for the special town meeting presentation. The only difference is the cover sheet's going to be say special town meeting and give the location. So we thought that Paul would give somewhat of a quick introduction, and then turn it over to Dennis to go over the next 4 or 5 slides. Essentially, what does your DPW do? A few photos, and then a list of some of the main things that DPW does for all the residents in the town. Then moving on just to a brief history of the project. The DPW is built in 95. We've identified needs for updating of the existing facility buildings to comply with current codes, and identified needs to improve operational needs, requiring a larger space and to meet DEP requirements. Weston & Sampson was hired for the feasibility study, which was work from 2017 to 2021. I think it's a good idea to remind them that this has been going on for a while. And then the project was restarted in 2025 for schematic design. And, we've been meeting as a working group since June to go over space needs, programs, inventory, and so forth. Dennis would also go over that. And Dennis would roll through some of the current conditions and problems. In the next couple slides, these conditions and problems are all the same items. It's just some of the photos change, and with the arrows pointing to the particular item. But as we know, no indoor wash bay is a big problem. We got equipment stored outside. We got health and safety issues for the staff, in particular ventilation issues. The office is located in a quote unquote temporary trailer, which has been there for the duration of the facility, trailer number 2. The garage building is past its useful life. The garage is too small. Salt shed does not meet DPW needs, but at this point, because we pivoted to a smaller scope, that would become a future item. The small staff kitchen break room is used for multiple items, meetings, EOCs, trainings. It's only one toilet. There's no room for growth. So we have that slide with a couple photos. Again, same conditions, but showing some other photos of the trailer, and we got lockers in the garage bay. And then again, same things, showing equipment stored outside. Then the next slide is going over the schematic design phase, which would be taken over by Weston & Sampson, just going over what we've done during schematic design in our progress to date. And then going into showing what the existing site plan is, which is a slide that's already done, or a poster that's already done. The original preferred program, which was, if you recall from past meetings, was option number 3, all new. That's no longer being considered due to the cost. And then the current proposed is going to be addition and renovation to meet the minimum program needs. And then I haven't put them in here, but we're going to insert 3 site plans after this slide, just to Weston & Sampson go over again existing plan. What was originally thought was the best and preferred program, and then what we're going to now to make sure that we've lowered the cost based on listening to the feedback. So after those slides, it would be Vertex taking over the next couple of slides, just going over our anticipated milestone dates. Again, based on approval on November 4th, we go into design and permitting from November to May 26th. Then would there be a town meeting for construction funds in May 26th, an election ballot, construction votes potentially June of 26, but it may also be in May. Bidding June to July of 26, construction August 26 to November 27, with closeout in December 27. Really, we would also go over our funding approach. Phase 2 again would just be for design funds. Design development, construction documents, cost estimates, pre-qualification of contractors, and bidding. And then what we're calling phase 3 would going to the annual town meeting and ballot in May to request the funds for construction using a CD cost estimate, and we would do bidding upon approval of the town meeting and the ballot votes. The phase two bid funding request for this coming November. We have the breakdown of the designer's fee, the OPM fee, other soft costs, which we asterisked and to give an idea, because someone's going to ask what that is, which is bid hosting costs, printing, planning board and Concom peer review costs, legal, permitting, FF&E design, technology design, and any utility fees that we may encounter. You know, if we don't have those, then we don't spend the full 118. Then we have a 5% contingency on top of that for any unknowns. That totals up 2.502794, which is the ask at the November special town meeting. And then the big question that everybody's going to ask is, okay, what's the total project? So at one time we had been talking about a 29 to 30 something $1 million project. That is just not going to happen. So we've reduced our budget range for the total project, inclusive of our design fees, from a range of 17.5 to 19.5 million. And it's a range because we don't have a design yet. So we're sort of working now towards a upset limit. Town meeting will be the 2.5 million. Spring will be not to exceed 17 million to keep us in that high range of 19.5. And then the next big question that everybody has is, what's the tax impact to residents? Vertex would pass it on to Ken Costa or someone else at that point from the town. And I've got a few things highlighted here because we gotta have some input on the actual numbers. But what we had been talked about previously, excuse me, was a 30-year 3.75% level interest bond. I just used a bond amount of 18.5. There could be possible other funding sources that may reduce that. Don't know at this point. We'll certainly look. And tax increase on a property assessed at $750,000 would be approximately 411. I would want Ken Costa to give us a number, or maybe even a range on that number, just to give people an idea of what their impact is, because the first question is, how much is it going to cost me, and the second question is, how much is the overall project? That's there's probably most people probably agree that you probably need work done at the DPW facility, but they always want to know what it's going to cost them. So that ends up being our last slide, and then we thought that maybe Dan or someone from the committee could sort of have a closing, a closing comment, and then open it up to questions from the residents that are in attendance.
All right, Steve, if I just can jump in here for a minute. So I'm not sure that the full membership here knows how we got from where we were to where we are now. At last week's Board of Selectmen meeting, the Finance Committee, financial director met with the Board of Selectmen, along with our esteemed interim town manager. And after passing numbers around and getting input from the financial director, it was quickly decided that the tax impact going with 28 to 33 million was just totally undoable. So that's how we came back here and circle the wagons, so to speak, and came up with what we thought was a more reasonable number that still allows Dennis to get what he absolutely needs. And still give the opportunity to add on to the building at some time in the future. Long after I'll be gone, so. That's just my 2 cents at this point.
And those minimum needs were getting out of the trailer and you know, building an office admin building addition, you know, reusing the existing garage, adding to it with a mechanic space, and then most important is the wash bay. There would be nothing done with the salt shed, because originally we were gonna put that build a new one in a different location. That's sort of off the table at this point. You know, along with some of the other things, it's just the minimum needs. And that is, I don't know if you want to add anything to that, but those were the top three that I had written down.
Did you get additional inside storage?
There is
At the
some
re-
additional inside storage, but water and wastewater will no longer come over. Although the building will be designed in a fashion so that all of the things that we discussed and that our goal was can be accomplished over time, but it has to be in the future. So in order to get that initial financial burden down, we talked about the bare bones, which the bare bones was, let's talk about electrical code, plumbing code. Let's get our HVAC system where it's supposed to be so that our mechanic can work on vehicles safely and not worry about, you know, carbon monoxide poisoning. Let's get the DEP off our back and not worry about them showing up one day and saying, you don't wash your vehicles inside like you're supposed to. So all these items were identified in our absolute bare bone requirement. And that's where we took it. And to design a building that allowed us to have some lean-tos, we get stuff that's underneath and out of the weather, but not necessarily in an environmentally controlled situation. And the ability to add on to it later on was paramount. So that is what we took on here to get to the point where we think we have a project that has the capability of being successful on town meeting floor. Without a doubt, the 28 to 33, I don't believe that would have been successful.
I agree. Steve, what are some of the other possible funding sources? State money or example?
Something that may be within town.
Oh, okay.
Indy, there's about 400,000 somewhere in that vicinity left from the community center project, and that can only be used for construction. So that
Okay.
could be applied. Maybe not all of it, but
Yeah.
75% of it. Dennis is looking into the well, now he wouldn't be, because water and sewer isn't coming over. You wouldn't be taking anything out of the enterprise accounts. So I just inquired of, there's several trust funds that we have, but the one would apply here has $143,000 expendable in it. But if we were to do that, it'd take 10 or 12 years to get that back. Because all these trust funds, you can't spend the principal, you can only spend the expendable is only the interest. So other than some state grants or anything, which appear highly unlikely, that's basically the funding. We're on our own.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, John?
John Wesley, and I'm sorry, my camera's off. I have the worst luck with Teams. But anyway, Could we put together, and maybe it was on one of those slides that went by, what we're getting and what the benefits are? Because that was interesting what Dennis just went through, but I would love to be able to see that and have that as a reference.
I believe,
Yeah, we can add that. We didn't necessarily point out the bare bones. You know, some of it would come in here with potentially the layouts. This is sort of where we say to meet minimum program needs. We could certainly expand upon that. Probably a good idea.
Yeah, maybe we can do a graphic with the site plan, but maybe similar to the poster, we can have a few images of some new interior spaces that are examples of that.
Yeah, that would only be helpful from me as a voter and me as a member of this committee to understand what it is we're asking people to pay for and what the benefits are. Thank you.
excellent question.
Paul, just a suggestion. I think including the three site plans that were discussed by this committee earlier is only going to confuse people. I think it would be much simpler to say, this is a bare bones proposal, and here are the things we're going to try to accomplish with this. Showing people, you know, three other options, and especially if you mention the cost, I think it's just going to make things more confusing. The only plan we're considering right now is this revised one. So I think the focus of this presentation should be on that, especially in town meeting. People are going to be confused enough by this whole thing. We don't need to make it more complicated by throwing in other options that we considered, but, you know, are not doing.
Steve, we actually talked about that this morning at some length, because there was four options, and we can you know, consider this too, but I just want to let you know what we had talked about. The existing plan is simply the existing plan of the DPW now, that first bullet that I have up there. The second bullet was one of the four options that we wanted to show where we had started from as being the ideal program, but that we have now, you know, heard the fact that it's cost too much, and we're down to the third bullet, which will be the current proposed addition renovation. So it's sort of a combination of what's there existing, a little history on what the committee and the design team has been doing, and where we are now. Now we can change that, but that what I'm showing there isn't the three options of things that we're not doing. It's the existing layout as it is, the original, the best, the preferred program that we're not going to be looking at, and you know, the new addition. So just to give you a little background.
What is the note at the bottom about inserting the three site plans refer to?
These particular ones, it's just a note saying they get inserted after this slide.
And did they represent the options that were no longer being considered?
No, it's the existing site plan. There's a slide for that, just showing what we have now. The original preferred program, which was a new facility, which we're not considering now, and then what we are considering is the current. Those are the three slides. That highlight is just there as a reminder for us to insert them into this presentation.
So if you're going to have a picture of the plan that you're no longer considering, that's what I think could cause people some confusion.
But it's important, Steve, to talk about where we went with a program that was needed. It's not like, I think it's important to drive home to the community that the program that we originally came up with was the one that is best suited for the community. It's the one that meets the needs of the current programs that we're expected to perform on a regular basis, and hopefully get another 20, 25, maybe even 30 years out of the facility for. I don't want to lose track of that. And the fact that because of the absorbent amount of the expense associated with that, we thought was too much of a lift for the residents, that we cut it down to the core services. But I don't want to lose track of the fact that over the course of time, some of those things are going to have to be revisited, because some of those things are really, the salt shed, for instance, grossly undersized at some point in time. And I suspect in the next 5 to 8 years, I'm going to be looking at redoing that salt shed. And I don't want to lose track of, you know what I'm saying? I don't want to lose track of that.
Well, the thing I think you're going to get is the average taxpayer is going to think that $411 a year is a pretty heavy lift.
Yeah, I agree.
And to say, well, we originally were going to have an $800 a year increase. I mean, that doesn't make anybody feel good. And I think this, part of the challenge at special town meeting is getting your message across quickly and clearly without complicating things beyond the, I was talking to other people about this project, and the average resident in town thinks that DPW is just a garage. That's what they think the DPW is. It's just a garage. Why should we spend, $17 million on a garage? So that's the mindset that you have to, take into consideration, and showing people, the original program that you wanted to try to, I think is just going to make people less supportive than if you say, look, we're doing the bare minimum because we are very cognizant of the tax impact of this, and this is what we're proposing. And I get your desire to keep things for history and for historical reference, and that's fine, but I don't think it serves the end goal to have a conversation about it at a town meeting when you're not even considering it anymore. That's just my opinion. I'm just
maybe it just becomes a narrative in talking about it and not necessarily showing it as a slide. If you want to say, you can say we started here, but now we're here.
I wasn't on board with what my good friend just started talking about, but after listening to him, and he sold me. So John Westling has his hand up. John.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. What was the total ask for construction on this, please?
Between 28 and 33.
For this bare bones version?
No.
Oh, no.
The total ask, inclusive of our design, right now is 17.5 to 19.5. So when we go to spring, the spring request, if we're on the high side, we won't be asking for anything more than 17 million.
Got it. And so at some point, I wonder if we don't talk about the increased cost. And I was taken aback by the 17.5 million. When we did the Hopkinton DPW, which was the entire site, it was $17-ish million. And that was 6 years ago. So do we talk about, look, can we afford it? Can we not afford it is an important question. But in the future, we'll never be able to afford it because that cost is just going to escalate beyond what anyone wants to see for a number. If we don't do it now, I don't see that we would ever be able to do it.
Well, and that's the problem. I mean, we say it at every municipal project we're on, escalation is 4 to 6% per year. And, prevailing wage never goes down. A lot of people liken it to, well, I had, addition put on my house and it didn't cost that much. Well, it's prevailing wage is so much more than private. And that's, we know many communities that have waited on things and they're paying double now for what they could have had how many years ago, including this project. You know, you back in what, 2020, you guys were at what, 15 million for a new facility? And now we were up to, you know,
Yeah.
30.
Yeah.
Crazy.
So, yeah, it is. Yeah, it is.
JP,
Yeah, thanks. I don't want to belabor this, but just to kind of clarify, if you go back to that question about the sort of preferred, what we call the preferred scheme, we see that, and I'm not trying to sway it either way. I just want to explain. We see that original design as, and I would suggest not calling it preferred program, but it is a documentation of what we see as the what meets the operational needs of the current DPW, including, you know, some future growth. So it wasn't, you know, I think the way it's presented here maybe suggests that, oh, well, this is what we wanted, but we only really needed this smaller one. That's not really the case. The case is this original one documents, you know, our finding of what the minimum basis is for this, the full operation of the DPW. So maybe we want to call it something different. I'm not really suggesting whether it should stay in or not, but I just wanted to clarify that that really is what that plan represents. Thanks.
John?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Question, Dennis said that we're no longer bringing over water and sewer. So wherever water and sewer are we going, and I'm just anticipating a question from the floor, are we anticipating that wherever they are, that there's going to be a need to improve their facilities because they're not coming here where they would have had a new home?
No, my hope is that we get them there eventually. That's my hope.
Okay.
So I don't want to steer clear of that. I appreciate your question. I know exactly what you're saying. So we could put money into the current facility, which is not really designed at all to be something for personnel or storage of equipment. And that was my hope, to bring them all under one roof, to streamline the process of giving out the day-to-days. But at the same token, I would hope that we design this in a fashion that they can come over eventually.
Got it. Thank you.
Dennis, something that every resident probably can relate to is the fact that during the winter, salt can do a lot of damage to a car. And what I think would help make this more relatable to people is if you can say, because we don't have space, all of our equipment is outside during the winter, and we don't have the ability to wash the salt off. And as a result of that, the expected life of our equipment is now shortened by X number of years, which means we have to replace equipment, expensive equipment, more frequently. Is that an argument that you can make?
Yes, it's a double-edged sword, because we do wash our equipment outside, which is illegal.
Okay, so we're doing something that's illegal because we don't have the ability to do it, legally. But even if you're doing it illegally, what's the ramification of doing it illegally? We're sending salt into the groundwater.
Yeah. So we're supposed to account for the washing of and maintenance of all of our snow and ice equipment during snow and ice operations. And that means that we're supposed to account for the cleaning of all of our equipment after a snowstorm, which has been a long-standing rule of the DEP. It goes way back. It's not a new thing. Fortunately for us, we're a small community, so it has taken them a long time to pay attention to us. They go after the big dogs first, and we're a little dog in this particular fight. However, eventually they will get around to us, and they will. I suspect it'll start like all DEPs starts with a consent order, and basically they say, look, you're in violation, and you have such and such a time to come up with a plan to respond to this and how you're going to remediate this issue. We come back with them and we tell them that we're working on it and we're going to need 6 months to a year because town meeting and appropriations, and in the meantime they assess fines, because the fines are to hold our feet to the fire, and they'll release the fines provided we do everything that we say we're going to do. That is all true someday, but I can't tell you with any kind of accuracy when that will happen, because we've avoided it for decades. Really, it's been like 15, 20 years, and they've been out there doing that with certain communities, and we've avoided it. But eventually they will get to us.
JP has his hand up, but along this line, let me ask this. Could anybody, the good conservation people, at any point, could they decide they want to step in and say, hey, you got to do something here?
Conservation?
Yeah.
No,
No.
they don't rule on this.
All right. I just, there's wetlands in the back there, and
Yeah, but we're not breaking any of their rules or laws.
all right. JP?
Thanks. I wanted to add a couple of items to the notion about keeping vehicles inside and washing. So when you're washing a vehicle outside, it is the salt partially, but it's also you're washing
Sediment.
oils and other fluids off of those trucks, and that's going into the environment. That's really the main consideration. So when we wash a vehicle indoors in a properly designed facility, it's going into a treatment system, a oil water
Yep.
separator, and other treatment systems that gets that oil out before it goes into any public systems. Secondly, yes, there are studies that have been done to say how much longer a truck lasts when washed and kept indoors. But it's also, there is also other environmental things. When you start a truck indoors, it's a much cleaner start because it's not trying to start against cold weather. There's a lot of issues with hydraulics. But also the biggest thing is safety for the DPW staff to not have to clean off the trucks in the middle of a snowstorm and, outside, rather than doing it where they are able to have a clean, safe environment inside. That's another safety factor that maybe has no monetary value, but certainly is important. So I just wanted to add that.
Yeah, I think somehow mentioning that during your part of the presentation, Dennis, I think would be very helpful, because I think it's something that people that are not familiar with everything that you're doing can, like I said, they can relate to that. And the fact that by washing a truck outside, it's not safe for the employees and it's potentially polluting the groundwater. I think those are two arguments that people could appreciate. So I think however you think is the best way to convey that, whether it's just through the narrative or by having a bullet on a slide somewhere, I think that has to come across somehow.
I agree.
And Dennis, Andy, you will get busted because we've got busted, and it's rare, but all of a sudden the DEP shows up and there's no bulbs in front of the oil tanks, or they're not enough, or
Yep.
and we can't pressure wash anymore in Upton because of them showing up. I'd probably been 7 or 8 years, but it's been that long.
You escape it for a long time, but once they
Yeah.
finally get on you, they don't get off you.
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
if I may. I'm going to be on November 1st, which is next Saturday. I'm going to be at the Bloomer Girls vendor fair for the table, and I'm going to be there to represent us, this committee. And there's two things I would look at. All the arguments you guys have brought up are perfect. But there's two different people who are going to be talking to us, two different groups of people. The people that, like, we were at the Heritage Day. Anybody over the age of 70 who walked up to us and said what we were going to do, flipped out, no, because they're sick of paying tax. They can't afford to. Then there's going to be other people from the town who are younger. Maybe they're from away. Maybe they just joined the town. Maybe they have a different process, a different way of looking at things. And the environmental impact, things like that, might be more important to them. So you have to look at it both ways when you're talking to folks, which I plan on doing when I'm talking to them. But one thing I would use for both sides is that Dennis just showed off a $285,000 truck that's actually a $325,000 truck at Heritage Day. That's because we waited. It took 3 years for that truck to be delivered because MHQ is a black hole. And so that truck was ordered and it was awarded 3 years ago at $285,000. The truck was delivered. It's about a $325,000 truck. The building is no different. The other thing is, now looking from the other side, you're talking about the environmental impact of power washing a truck down at the sewer department, which, what I understand from years ago, listening to this conversation, people can fall and slip because they're outside in the ice. They're not cleaning the truck in a safe environment. What is that for an impact on the town if somebody gets hurt? Little things like that can be, depending on who you're talking to and who you're answering questions from, is going to depend what argument you use or what example you use as to why this is important. And like you said too, a building, I worked prevailing wage. I was picking up litter today on the side of Route 190 for $50 an hour because it's prevailing wage. Prevailing wage doesn't go now. Brickies right now are $100, $102 an hour, which is insane. And like I said, the building's never going to get cheaper. So depending on who I'm talking to, I'm going to approach this in different ways. And I think the big community impact or outreach is going to be a little bit different because you have so many people asking questions. But for me, as just a regular goof talking to people, I'm going to approach it in different ways. And everything you guys are saying tonight is important. I also would like to know how I'm going to get a hold of the information, like the poster boards and things like that, so I can put them on easels at this little table. And any pamphlets we had, those bifolds we had at Heritage Day, how do I get a hold of those so I can have them?
I have them, Dave.
Okay.
I have a bunch I'm going to put up
Yeah.
tomorrow. They're going up at the town hall and at the community center. But when you want them, you can move them.
Right, I'll swing by and grab some then.
Yep,
And
absolutely.
not to swing the conversation, but if we want to review that last poster, I could try to get that printed out and even delivered. Well, I wouldn't be able to do it tomorrow, but by Friday. When do you need to have them presented?
Saturday,
When is that?
Saturday, November 1st, so next Saturday.
Okay. I could definitely get them to you, Dennis, by Friday if we
Great.
are able to look at them. So by tomorrow for sure.
Are you gonna want, Dennis, aren't we gonna want them for the 29th presentation?
Of course, yeah. Well, we have 2 sets of them right now.
Yeah. But Dave, to back up, if I'm able, I will be with you. I will go down there on the 1st of November.
Aren't you having surgery or something?
But my issue is I'm having a total knee done on the 30th.
Yeah. So you don't have
No, they say you can, you may walk out of the operating room, but I'm not sure of that. I made a joke to somebody. I said, if I gotta get Andrew Pickering to bring me to the town meeting, I'll be there. As far as November 1st, I don't know. I gotta figure if my wife will let me do it first, you know?
No. Listen, I don't know what the people, how many people are going to come by to talk to me, but I'm going to talk to people and answer their questions. You don't have to be there.
They get a lot of people.
I know.
At that thing, you know.
No, I'll be there all day. So my wife will be
What's
there.
What's the function?
This is the Bloomer Girls, which is if you're familiar in town, it's kind of like they're a ladies' charitable organization that flies under the radar and helps people out in need without letting them other people know they're in need. And they're a very big partner of the men's club, which I'm a part of, where we're a little bit more boisterous and loud, and they're very quiet and under the radar. They have a vendor fair, which is really a craft fair. And it's one of their bigger fundraisers for the year. It's at Blackstone Valley Tech BVT School. And they have vendors from all over the place, but it draws a lot of crowds from local people as well as people that, you know, the BBT community is like 13 different towns from as far away as Millbury. But it's a great, they give us a booth for free. And so I'm going to be there and I'm going to answer questions similar to Heritage Day and talk it up. And as a taxpayer in town, believe me, $411 is a bunch of money in a town where I pay almost $10,000 a year now to live in this town. And it started out at $867 33 years ago. But I also understand equipment and I understand longevity of equipment and the investment everybody in town makes. It affects everybody in town.
I can't talk right now, man.
But anyway, I'm babbling, but I will be there to represent us and to talk to folks, and we'll see how it goes.
All right. John, you've been part of this issue for a long time. What can you throw in about that maybe we're missing as far as the advantages of having a better facility?
You know, I'm listening to some of the talk about the outside washing. About maybe 8 to 10 years ago, Paul, we had an employee that went down out back on the ice where he was rinsing out his spreaders, and he ended up in the hospital. And you know, obviously that costs the town money. You know, it's dangerous out there. You know, the guys have been up, or it's the next day. You know, you don't recover in one day, and I think that's one of the most dangerous things we do outside of the building right now is taking care of that equipment. And you know, and certain types of equipment need to be kept inside. You know, you can't put salt spreaders or sand spreaders outside and go home and then come back in the morning and use them again because they freeze up like a block. Even when you empty them out, they don't. You know, everything's packed in them. So that was one of the big things that I was listening about.
Anybody hit? No hands up? All right,
Mr. Chairman, if I can interject.
you may.
Thank you. Dennis, did Weston and Sampson provide any of those pros and benefits of a new facility? I mean, we're talking about obviously washing inside, but when I'm going to refer back to Hopkinton again, when we did Hopkinton, they were very helpful with, you know, all of the ancillary benefits of just a cleaner environment for the men to work. I'll share as an aside, when we did our facility, I was asking the guys, you know, what do you think of the new place? And one of the guys, he was candid. He said, I just like being able to go to the bathroom in a clean facility. I feel like I'm respected as an employee. But Weston and Sampson had all of those pros and cons. Did they provide that to us?
They did. They put together a list of things that we were looking to improve and the reasons why and the deficiencies associated with them. Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, it's also summarized in the posters and pamphlets that we did. So, and as you suggested, we can add that information into this presentation as well.
What are the important dates for us to be aware of and to be in attendance? I know special town meeting is what, November 4th?
Yep.
Yes.
Are there any others? What is the date of that? I forget what the women's group was that you just described.
The Bloomer Girls is on November 1st.
And then we have October 29th, we're doing the outreach program at the community center.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other comments here? This whole thing is everybody is basically saying the same thing, but when it comes right down to it, Joe taxpayers want to say, how much is it going to cost me? And that's, unfortunately, that's what drives it. So, I don't know, given, you know, past history, Steve been involved in this in the town hall, and and the community center, and I've been in the community center in this, so it's hard to figure out what people are, what they're thinking about. But I guarantee you, the first thing they're thinking about is their pocketbook. How much is this? How much more is that check going to be when I have to write for 4 times a year to pay the taxes? Would it be basically where am I going? These frequently FAQs. We could come up with some basic general ones because we know what they're going to be. Would it be
Yeah.
beneficial we put these out on a site now? I mean,
I think we do, like I said, generic FAQs. They're nothing that's certainly been asked by a resident potentially, but questions that we can come up with and put out on the website, because you would hope someone would maybe do some homework before they went to town meeting, and if they can't find something, they're going to wonder why.
There's also nice bullet points to have when I'm there on November 1st. Have some pre-written out, thought out questions and answers. It would be nice to
Yep.
have.
Yeah. Just have a little cheat sheet. Yeah.
Dennis, I'm assuming somebody's reached out to Paul Norton to get this presentation on the website, YouTube, town's YouTube, or whatever it is.
I'm not aware yet.
You mean
no,
a
Paul.
videotape of the community outreach session?
Yeah, so for the community outreach session, Paul Norton is the works
Cable
for
access.
the cable committee, and he's the one who would typically be there with a camera that can put the discussion at this meeting out on the town's YouTube channel. You're also going to need help from Chris, our IT guy, to make sure
Karen.
that this works. Chris Karen, yeah.
Yeah, because again, who knows what kind of attendance we're going to have. Sometimes it's not that much, but if you take, the videotape of the presentation, you put it on the website, again, people can go look at it and listen through and educate themselves, hopefully, before the town meeting.
Well, as we talked about earlier today, there's a couple of other competing meetings on that night.
Yeah.
So, and it's kind of a short notice to boot. So we just make the best of it. But we still have a week, for what it's worth, to try to get something out there prior to town meeting. Now, is there any way we could come up with a handout to distribute at town meeting?
Yeah, we have JP updated flyers.
The flyer?
Yeah.
All right.
Yep.
So if we had a few of them, I don't know how many people you're going to get at town meeting. It's hard to say.
Well, the thing is, if you don't have it available, then they'll say, well, why didn't you have something available?
Yeah.
If you do, and they pass it by, well, we were there. Same thing with the FAQ,
Yeah.
same thing with the video, same thing with the website, and the community outreach sessions. People say, well, I never heard of this. How come you didn't let us know? And then you can say, well, we just had an outreach forum on the 29th. Our website has been posted. There's information there. At least you have an answer to say that we did something, as opposed to, we didn't do anything.
Exactly. Anything else, Dennis? You missed anything?
No.
So hopefully we'll see everybody see some of you on the 29th, and maybe we could see more of you hopefully on November forth at the town meeting. You will, Steve, you'll forward that presentation along to the rest of the group, and so it can be incorporated as part of the minutes.
Yes,
Does the
Well,
meeting
I
on the
think
29th need to be posted?
it, uh,
Yes.
it probably should be.
It probably
in
should
case-
be posted.
Yeah. Because
Well,
you don't, however many, if you have a quorum of committee, then, and it becomes a meeting.
Yep.
But-
Even if there's no action taken. You
Right.
just say no action taken. So,
But we, you know, I can certainly send the building committee presentation to go with the minutes. The community outreach presentation, we want to update that based on some of the comments
Yes.
that were discussed tonight.
right. If you
And
want
then,
to,
and then also share that with this group.
right, exactly. Does anybody have anything they want to add? I'd say there's no public here that I can see,
Nope.
so we don't have to worry about public comment. Anybody else have any words of wisdom for us? Mr. Westling, you have any more words of wisdom, seeing you've done this before?
Mr. Chairman, I am all wisdomed out. I shared all my wisdom along the way.
All right, then. Having no further business, we will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Need a second?
Second.
Roll call vote. The adjourn is at 8:02, 8:03. Roll call vote. Paul Flaherty, aye.
David Bryan, aye.
John Johnson, aye.
Andy
Pete
Leonard,
Rackett,
aye.
aye.
Thank
John
you,
Westerling,
gentlemen.
aye.
Thank you, gentlemen. We'll
Thank you.
see
Good
you-
night.